Hey folks, and welcome to The Salty Seaman, Tales from the Fleet. Getting back to chronology, my first deployment, Southern Swings we called it, and my mess cranking and everything. I already covered. I jumped ahead, so uh, here we're going to be skipping ahead to return home. This would be about April '96 through Ulchi Focus Lens would have been that summer and various goings on there. But basically, this is getting into not a great time for me. And in some ways, it was cool. And I was at this point, I had a year on the ship under my belt. I was no longer a boot. I'd been through crossing the line, WOG Day. I had a full deployment under my belt. I had a year on board under my belt. It was E3 of coming up for E4. I did my mess cranking time. I was a full-on non-boot at this point. But at the same time, we got our office changed, a lot. I covered a little bit on the other one, but just to reiterate, YN1 Lee, she was working independently during the deployment. Not that I was up there anyway, but she finished her time, left, got her pin. I heard she made chief. Okay, but unfortunately, the replacements were fucking way worse, and we go from Y1 Lee, who we really pretty much the entire office and I think most of the division did not care for much. Not my favorite leader, but unfortunately, what we got was worse. Her replacement was this YN1 Drake, who was pretty useless. As first class go, he just been. I don't think he was a natural leader in that position. I think, and figured out how to spend most of his career kind of being an independent yeoman and not having to run an office, and it became pretty. The division, probably up to the XO, probably figured out pretty quick, this guy is not going to be able to fill what YN1 was doing, which was a Chiefs billet. We had a gapped LCPO billet there for who knows how long, and YN1 had, at least competently covered that aspect of it, even if she wasn't the greatest. Drake was not going to be capable of that. He also did not want to be there. Pretty close to retirement, and, I think he'd kind of planned on milking various aches and pains into permanent shore duty until retirement. And the Navy told him, no, you have nothing. You are fit for sea duty. And that's what I remember about him. It's just a lot of bitching and wanting to go to medical and complaining about his shoulder and his back. And eventually he would leave the ship for a while and get knee surgery, which is one thing he never complained about, but he managed to find, but he found something. I mean, that was his MO. He was getting off the boat. He was determined. He was just kind of there. He was competent YN1. I mean, E6, he knew the job, but I mean, he was definitely not in position to lead us. So they brought in a senior chief from COM, RMCS Mayhew. The worst boss I ever had, and thankfully I did not have to deal with her as much during her about 9-10 month run. She came in. I was mess cranking. Once I finished up my time on that underway and went back to the office. Maybe a month. And we didn't get along. She fucking detested me. I think I talked about her a little bit on the Inport period from the year before. She was my section leader, and we'd had issues. And it was not a good thing. We pulled in, and there's various TADs that need to go on rehab, which is tough work. I've done it. I've done some of it. I've never been permanently on one of those teams, but it's rough work. It's construction work basically. And Fox Division, which is the opposite, it's pretty cool for a full-time job, especially when you're just like, I need to get the fuck out of this office. I'll go stay in Firewatch for 3 months, no fucking problem. Which is what I did. It came up and I volunteered, and she was like, yeah, great, you go do that. She was, we were on board with that together. So it was good. It was just, yeah, it was a point of like, man, I was at this point thinking, kind of getting in the mood of, I just want to get through, the next three, 2.5 years that would have been at that point, get my college degree and go. Didn't even care about making E4, even though, that was the ticket out of the Midnight Liberty at the curfew over in foreign ports, which was a big deal to me at the time, but not big enough for me to like make extra effort for it. But luck in being really good at taking multiple choice tests sometimes work out, but getting ahead of myself. So I end up going to Fox Division, and the way it worked was this is another import period. Pretty much every time the Blue Ridge back then was import, the Japanese SRF ships repair force workers would come on board and start working on things. It was even then it was an old boat. It's unbelievable it's still in commission. But I mean that was just always a constant. And so anytime we had those like 3-month import availabilities, it was boom, boom, boom. There's a ton of Japanese guys running around and girls. Not many though. And and we had to provide help for them. The rehab teams. The rehab part was, I believe, was usually American contractors, I think, out of Hawaii, and the T80 guys would help them. Fox Division was straight under the ship's guidance, but we got, we would go do jobs. The job orders. Basically, what happens is the job orders come in, early morning. They're going to do, X number of welding jobs around the ship to take different amounts of time. Our job was to watch the areas for people who've never done fire watch on a Navy ship. That's what it is. You're watching for fire. You have flash gear, which is like gloves and a face hood and a CO2 bottle. You may be staring directly at the where the guy's welding, in which case you also have the dark goggles, or you may be on the other side of a wall or of an overhead or a deck, in case a fire breaks out on the other side of what they're working on. And you'd sit there until, it was done. He would take, if it was going past lunch, they'd call break. Japanese guys were super cool. I've never heard of them reporting anyone for sleeping or whatever. Like they really didn't give a shit. And they also supplied their own fucking fire watches, which is kind of funny. But anyway, they broke it down basically at the time. I think we had 3 sections. And the cool thing about Fox at this time was we did not stand duty, regular shipboard duty. We had technically every day off. Your duty day would be the section would be like early leavers, midday, and people who and the last section will be people who'd be staying till all the jobs are done at the end of the day, however long that might take. So it was a crapshoot. It wasn't sometimes it'd be your duty day, and all the jobs would be done by 5. That's a great day. Some days, you're in there till 8, 9 o'clock at night for really late emergency jobs. But even then, it's like they don't call the whole section. It's like if you got to that point, it's like, okay, we have one job. Like the Frank Cable came in and like they need a fire watch. They're coming in, 7 to 9, working on the that happened to me one time working on the ship's classroom. And then just my day in the bucket, me and me and 2 other guys I think got stuck watching a lot of different spots in there because it was like a big room. So. But even then, that would be, that would leave till, it's like that was the latest I ever worked was 9. So then you get to your weekend, and the off day guys, the early alert, they wouldn't have to come in on Saturday. But the other 2 sections, the midday and the late sections, would, and you basically muster, figure out what the jobs were. They all went to the duty day stairs. I'm really hoping I'm not getting it confusing anyone about this. It's making sense in my head, but I know sometimes you can't always express everything you want to say or correctly. But the day, they basically, if you were midday duty and you came in on Saturday, it was like, 99% chance you were leaving at by 9 a.m. So you took it. And then Sunday was just the duty day. It's like every day it rotated between the 3 sections. So if your duty day was the Sunday, same thing. They almost never did work on Sunday or if they did, they'd be really quick morning jobs. I don't remember ever staying later than lunch on a Sunday. I ended up going through this twice in 1997. By the way, I'll give you the year timeline. So April 1997. So yeah, it was. I really there was really nothing to complain about. I mean, even when you had those days where it kind of sucked when you were on duty, it's like this isn't real duty. It's if I got to stay till 9, on my worst case scenario, yeah, it kind of sucks, but really, who cares? So a lot of friends. I met. I didn't meet Roth here. I knew him before. Like I've talked about before. Met him through when he did rehab. Roth was one of those guys, just incredibly smart, talented, charismatic, good-looking dude. Still know him. Still pretty good friends with him to this day. Yeah, but he's a character, and he's a guy that's always pushing buttons, and he's smart enough to kind of get himself out of deep trouble, but to tell and he had enough people who really liked him because of who he was, and he was you really thought he was like one of the just coolest cats you ever met, and that included a lot of his chain of command, or you thought he was a cancer, crazy person, unsuitable, whatever. So the compromise was basically keep him out of comm. He's about his entire time on the ship. The guy actually worked in radio, very very little, even in the IT side, even less than that. But yeah, that's where me and him really bonded more. It's like we cranked also together. He was the kitchen. He was veg prep. I was deep sink. So we crossed paths there a little bit. We remember him and the crazy Marine I talked about running the SN Snyder out of just like one of them has to go. Like he was in charge of the scullery, but both of them ended up working there one day. Anyway, Roth was. So yeah, me and him hung out, and we were different people in a lot of ways, for sure. He wasn't a partier, he didn't drink, so like I didn't go hang out with him in the bars afterwards. But sometimes we would just both be off. I think we were in the same section. We just walk around base or whatever and just shoot the shit. Just talk about various things. That's kind of how we bonded. And then when it got a certain time of day, I was like, well, I'm off to Seaside or I'm off to the bar, and he would go do whatever. Probably go read and listen to music in his rack. That was his life. And, talking about girls and life and, where he, bonding. A few other people, I believe, I cannot remember, it was another RM. We had a lot of RMs. It was a combo, really. Charlie, and I don't remember his last name. Yeah, me and him became good friends, and then after that we spent a long time in the same duty section, and we did a lot of shore patrols together. And a few others. I think that one was OS. There was an OS one. Rogers, if I remember correctly, was the was our petty officer in charge. He was cool as shit. I mean, it wasn't anything. I mean, we never felt bad. If he wasn't one of those things where we knew, like, if we got stuck on late watch or whatever, it wasn't like he was punishing anybody. He was completely fair. He didn't like to do it either. He tried to do our best for us and but still making sure the job got done. Good guy. But yeah, kind of a band of misfits. You send people off TAD. I mean, it's a combination of different divisions and departments have to provide a certain number of bodies for these different TADs. And what you get is a lot of junior guys, and you get a lot of guys who the division can honestly get not need at the moment. So very interesting. I mean, you would get guys you knew were like probably really really good sailors, but they just kind of got caught in the boat of like, we got to send somebody, and you can't just protect people you really really want, or you shouldn't. Which again, surprisingly, I remember as I said before, YN1. Despite, a lot of the ways she treated me, like she really, well, number one, she didn't like mess cranking and thought it was stupid. Number two, she wanted to keep me in the office. Of the new guys we had, she thought I was, the most competent, and I think she had made some kind of plans to mold me. Whatever, I don't know. Mayhew definitely did not have this idea to do anything with me other than get rid of me, which I was completely happy with. So I'm in that boat, and pretty much, Roth and everyone else I'm looking at, it's just like luck of the draw, or specifically you're here because, Rogers I don't think was very well liked in ops, which is why he ended up there, if I remember correctly. But I have a few funny stories. The learning center room. The first time one of the times we did a job in there, I think it was like a Saturday afternoon. It was with the Japanese, and good God, we were just unhappy to be there. It was like me, Mark Moreno, who I talked about a little bit before on here, one of my really early buddies, and one other guy, and we were just being fucking dicks. Like, we were running around, we were shooting off our CO2 bottles, pretending to jerk them off. I think the Japanese guys appreciated it, then got annoyed, and, we're just like, hurry the fuck up. It's Saturday, it's 4 o'clock. But it was a lot of fun. We're just, you goof around. A lot of times you sleep. There was primo spots. Sometimes you'd be like, okay, you're going to be watching the other side of this bulkhead, and you're going to be in a locked stateroom. Basically, they would get the keys from S5, who ran. That was the wardroom people. They also covered, they cleaned the officer staterooms and stuff. So you get the key from it, and like one time I was like in an admiral stateroom. It wasn't the admiral, it wasn't the 7th Fleet guy. It was like a 1-star room, but it was like the bed was fucking enormous, and it was a really nice room. And the main problem if you're going to try to catch a catnap is like, anybody walks by you and sees you're on fire watch and obviously asleep, you're in trouble. You're dereliction of duty. You're sleeping on watch. So, people learn. We learn how to like sleep with like our heads. Like I can still fall asleep with my head straight up. Like I don't like without my head falling over, nodding, or whatnot from just that time. But yeah, situations like that with the stateroom is like no one can walk in on you. Like you have the key. Like even when the Japanese guys come to tell you, work's done or break for lunch, they have to knock on the door. So you always have a warning. And yeah, I remember just the whole morning just slept on that fucking big bed. I mean, just out of it. It was like the deepest sleep I got on watch, I think, ever. Young sailors in the Navy, I don't suggest you try this. Yeah, you get caught, it's your ass, Mr. Postman. But in this case, I felt pretty safe, and I was not like I don't know how long the guy was knocking before I woke up, but I think the job ended at lunch that day, so I didn't go back that afternoon. So guys from Freight Cable came. We did a late night job. That one on my duty day, that kind of sucked. Rolling in a lot of Saturday and Sunday mornings for mid duty or late duty, fucking hungover, and barely. We just treated it like a normal day. It's like yeah, I gotta go in technically tomorrow, but it's Friday night. I'm 20 years old. Let's fucking get it on. And, and that would be, the weekend duty guys is like 70-80% just hungover or still drunk dudes sitting in like this shack they built and assembled on the main deck. One of the things I remember fondly about this time was just, it kind of was, where I felt the most like settled. I had nothing hanging over my head. I had all my quals done at this point. Nothing for me to have to worry about on that end. I didn't have overnight duty. I wasn't in a toxic work environment. I absolutely got along with everybody there. The work is barely work, and you get some screwed up Saturdays and Sundays, especially if you're trying to leave base for a long time. It's not the greatest, but it was a sacrifice we gladly took just to get out of regular 5-section duty. I took 4 days of leave in Tokyo. I stayed at the Nusano Hotel, it's a military hotel, and near the Embassy District of Tokyo, not too far from Roppongi as well. That's the international area. Had a great time, just on my own, partying in Roppongi, whatnot. And, it was like, when I go hang out with, my friend Brett from the office, not that we dwelled on work much there. We always tried to move the conversations on because it always got us depressed and irritable. So, yeah, it was, I hear about working for Mayhew, and I was like, ugh. It's like, oh, hey, Fox Division's going great. He's like, oh, I totally wish I had done that. You know, volunteering for it, and I was like, well, oh, I can't remember what his reasoning was. He didn't want to do it, but you know, and everything in retrospect, right? But yeah, it was. I mean, it was a period of just. I could just kind of be myself. I wasn't worried about work. I wasn't worried about really anything. I was just kind of enjoying myself as a young adult in Japan. And my work day wasn't anything that, stressed me or just made me just dread things in life, or, especially coming from, cranking and then working for, a boss that, we mutually despise each other. It was a really, really solid time that went from about mid-February to mid-July, which is when we had to start, doing workups for the Ulchi Focus Lens exercise in Korea. Again, since they did every summer. Of course, I talked about the first one last time, which also meant the end of TAD. One last little thing I forgot to mention was one of the SRF workers was kind of a legend. Like, I heard about him before I even worked with him. He was like the senior welder down in the fire rooms, engine rooms. He was a spry dude, Japanese, of course. I want to say his name was Shinto. Like, I used to be able to recall his name. I've totally forgotten it. He was well known, not just on our ship, but in Yokosuka. Just a fun guy to work with, an absolute fucking pervert. He spoke good enough English to get across a lot of really, really dirty jokes and observations. And he made standing fire watch fun. He was very interactive with his helpers and the fire watches. We always loved working with the guy. Just try to show him American porn. And he just said, oh, too much, because they have the pixelation over there because of American occupation after World War II, and they just never gave it up, even though we, completely embraced porn at that point. Weird things in life, right? But, you go into the Ulchi thing, and I already done Ulchi, and I know what to expect, and now I'm going back to the office. But some bright times were ahead, and I think we'll get to those on the next time when I'll talk about either just Ulchi 97, or I might cover the rest of 97 in a chunk. We'll see how it goes and how much material I have to offer. This one went a good little bit. I didn't think it would be this long, but I'm glad it did. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope if you've been following this series, enjoying hearing about my life. This is a fun trip down memory lane, and I'm definitely feeling, since I started this series, the longer I'm going, I'm starting to forget things. As I'm getting into my old age. I think I started these at 40, and now I'm 42, and there's already a degradation from that time period, which it's going to happen, even with someone as good a memory as I generally do for that time. So that's going to be it for the Salty Seaman. Next video probably going to be my very, very delayed best of 2018 in the military show. And then for all of that's probably going to be Officer and a Gentleman bullshit review. So look forward to that. I love you, freaks. Peace.